this thing on?
Trying to look less fat. I don't know if it's possible. A fantastic sports show.
What are we talking
It is
about?
live now. Fantastic Sports Show is live now.
So he's as good looking as I am. He also has a face for radio. Yeah, well, back in the 70s and 80s, all the hairspray from the girls from Revere would all put their hair up and they would spray that hairspray. And that's why the ozone layer in Revere is thinner than anywhere else in the world. I didn't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Medford is second, but Revere was first.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Christian. I don't know if he's Catholic, but he's a Christian. And I do know that all 8 children are with his wife.
Okay, he's very potent. We know that. Very potent.
Oh, that's right.
Every sport is important, John.
That's right.
I was even going to talk about bass fishing.
Oh.
I was trying to look at the scores today, and I found the bass fishing, sub-menu. And I think their first tournament is today. Now, that sounds like a pretty fun sport.
Not even a little bit.
No?
Tell me about golf, John.
Varsity letter
So
for going fishing?
let's
That never gets old, does it?
Never.
I have to sit next to somebody else today, I guess.
You guys missed me last week.
Were you missing?
You missed me.
It was the highest rated show ever, I thought Rob said last week.
Jim gets the stats. Who's got their volume up?
next to somebody else today, I guess.
Is that you? Jim gets the stats. He's the custodian of the Facebook page.
I didn't notice stats last week, partly because I was not here and assumed that the show would not go on as well as it has in the past.
Where were you last week?
Where was I last week? I was. Where was I last week?
Plowed my driveway first, but that was earlier in the
Saturday
day.
night. I honestly don't know.
Now, was that the second person, Rob, that plowed your driveway, or the first? Did Jim do the cleanup for the first guy, or is Jimmy a primary?
Well, I have this neighbor that's his kid got a Jeep and got a plow and is supposed to be doing it for free, but I think he broke it. So I asked Jim to come.
Oh, I thought you had the little Portuguese guy.
So that's what I did. And then I asked Jim to come because I already told the Portuguese guy that it was done. So I didn't want to go back on it. So.
Was that like a deflective answer, somewhat like a subterfuge? I don't want to answer that question?
When you get something like this to you when you're talking, yeah, absolutely.
I see.
Hey,
Okay.
I have to make it a point because I don't see my mom very often, but my mom is actually watching the show. Hey, Mom.
Excellent.
Mom,
Wow.
you can call in. There's a phone number if you do see that. So
Call us.
Since we haven't talked in 3 or 4 years.
603-424-0432.
Yeah, if you heard that anyway. So
Mrs. Cardello is probably a nice lady.
So she is.
I met your sister, and she's very nice. So I'm assuming your mother's nice.
This one was the original Mrs. Cardello lasted about a year or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now she's I don't know what she is. She could have any number of last names. I think she goes by Flynn these days. Sorry,
Excellent.
Mom.
Wow.
All right, that's funny. I hope you got that humor, Mom. So we're talking what? Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins?
Hey, Rob, I know I'm not the best Celtics analyst, but I heard an interesting stat today that I wanted to bring to the show.
Excellent.
Do you know that I saw a graphic last night? Jaylen Brown has not missed a 3 since February.
Ooh. I've not missed a 3 since February.
Yep.
That could be. You think that might be your mom?
It could be. Let's find out.
Okay. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
All right. Jaylen Brown hasn't had missed a 3 since February. Is that true?
Yeah. It's March 2nd, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jim's mom? We're going to put you on the air. Hold on.
So apparently my mom did call in. She probably was going to let you know that it is only March 2nd and there's only been one game.
She's there now, I believe.
And how do we refer to her? Mrs.
This is Mom.
Okay.
Rosemary Flynn, Lech, Cardello, Reckberg.
I've worn the veil a few times, so what?
You've worn the veil. Are you behind the veil now?
Jimmy,
Yeah.
just So you know, the marriage lasted 3 years, and I still think his father's one of the greatest people I've ever met. Amen.
All right. Well, good. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, so where were you last week? In Florida?
Uh,
You were, huh?
no, I'm in,
You were.
no. Last week I was not in Florida, but I will be there in the coming weeks, and I will stop by. I plan on visiting you on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay, is that a weekend day? I hope not.
it's a Sunday,
Oh, no. Can you do it on Monday or Friday?
possibly. I'll let you know. So, what do you down there in where are you? Englewood?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not too far from Fort Myers. How many Red Sox games have you been to so far this spring?
Not one. I don't like traffic.
So, Mom, this is John McKenna sitting next to me on the right, and
Yeah, I like him.
you like him?
Yep.
Why?
Just he makes me laugh.
I have more chins than a Chinese phone book, and she likes that.
John is John.
Also good.
John worked for Linda McCartney.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Not after Tuesday, I don't, but until Tuesday, I do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. I
Yeah.
mean, is she very nice? Was she as nice as she seemed, or was she kind of
No, very nice.
Very nice.
Very
And-
nice. That's nice to hear. I'm glad to hear it.
Have you ever heard Rob's impression of Paul McCartney?
Well, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
I've
let's
never
hear
heard
that.
it.
We're due for one of those, Rob.
Well, I didn't really know what John did for a living. I just assumed he was Paul's personal driver. So I imagined in my head that he drove Paul around a lot. So it kind of went something like this. John, the middle lane is wide open, John. We've been in this lane for 2 hours, John. Can't we get over to the other lane, John? I guess they never heard of the Beatles.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? I love that accent, and if I had that accent, I would never shut up.
Yeah.
I've been told to shut up once or twice.
Well,
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Doesn't mean I do.
Yeah.
Simple.
So,
Okay, kids, I'm
you-
gonna go back to watching the.
Red Sox.
You know. Are they playing today? Is that it?
Yeah, they play daily, pretty much.
Yeah, they're playing.
Yep.
They're down 11-1, I heard, against the Baltimore Orioles right now. All right, Mom. Good talking to you. I will be in touch
Wait.
next
I'm
week.
just telling you that the traffic is unbearable here.
Right.
It is the biggest, most. It's horrible.
John is John here is a logistics manager for he's now a vice president of stuff, but he's in the trucking industry, so he's well aware of traffic. And my hunch is that high on his list is not the Englewood, Florida traffic.
Yeah, probably
Pattern.
not.
Yeah.
There's a reason why UPS drivers only make right-hand turns in New York City. I don't know if you know that, but that's true.
Well, I kind of believe it. It is like a death trap here. Unbelievable. And
Is it kind of like downtown Londonderry on a Friday, or
Yeah,
what is
that's
it like?
worse
Worse.
Wow.
because
Wow.
Englewood just has 2 lanes. You know,
Just
we're
2.
a small town, and they just
Englewood?
invade the snow
With an
birds,
E.
and they bring all their negative cold energy with them,
I
and
see.
everybody feels unpleasant until they leave.
The snowbirds.
And
Good for you. Another one of those unpleasant people's leaving from Londonderry later in the week, and he'll be bringing some cold winter weather down with him and some cold energy.
we could definitely use a cooling off period here. And by the way, Jimmy, I think I'm gonna sell my house. Okay, bye.
I can refer you a realtor. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Excellent.
How was that?
We should have
that's
Mom's
riveting
call
television
often.
right
Yeah,
there.
that's great that your mother called in.
Yeah.
Now, how many times was she behind the veil? Married?
4,
3,
5, 6,
yeah.
I don't know. It's
So-
plenty.
Must be an interesting day at your house on Father's Day, huh?
They're all estranged.
So how the DNA test going? Have you been taking those?
I know my dad.
Does your
knows
mother
me.
still get royalties from those Maury programs? I mean, does she get on Maury? And
You are not the father.
That's not right.
Okay.
All
So
right.
your sister is not a half sister.
My sister has nothing to do with that mother.
Oh, okay.
My sister's from another mother.
I have a half
Same
sister.
father, however.
I have a half sister. It's the same.
Rob and I are related, you know. His mother and my mother went to different schools together.
At the same
Around
time.
the same time?
Yep.
Oh, there is a relation there, absolutely.
Told you.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, you can't
Sports.
get much more sports talk than that, right?
Can I mention that
Somebody still has something on over there.
I'd like to mention that Harry Sauter is watching as well, and I would like to see Harry Sauter call in because Harry, the former head softball coach at UMass Lowell, retired emeritus, is also coaching soccer down in Florida, in Celebration, Florida, of all places.
Is he still know the coach at Lowell? Because I know a pretty nifty center fielder that's going to be looking for a ride in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think Allie should be looking into
Yeah.
maybe Lowell, but maybe also New England College or Maine, Southern Maine.
New England College in Henniker.
In Henniker? What division is that?
They have like
you coached baseball there at one time.
I did.
What is that, like Division 17 or
3.
Oh, it's 3.
Harry left. He must have got nervous.
He didn't want to have to talk to you about coaching soccer in Celebration, Florida.
That's right.
That you know why Celebration, Florida is named that, right?
Why?
It's named after one of the Carnival cruise ships, the Celebration.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought it had something more to do with Disney.
Oh, I guess anything's possible.
It's magic. It's magic.
Very magical.
So I was doing some research today, and Bryce Harper will be 39 when his contract expires. So
He'll be rich.
he's going to be rich at $330 million guaranteed, with no opt out. So he's going to be living in the city of brotherly love. If the Phillies win the World Series, there'll be people eating horse excrement and breaking into Wawas.
Excellent.
And, you know, it's going to be an exciting time down in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I did notice that they front-loaded the contract, which is good. So when he's like 38 or 39,
They're not paying him as much.
he's only going to
22,
make
the last 5 years, like 22 million.
yeah, 22 million.
That's
Yeah,
nothing.
You know,
It's really
Okay.
nothing. So he did mention that today in his press conference that he looks forward to bringing a title back to DC. Yep.
That's
back
what he
to
said?
Washington. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Maybe he will.
so good for him.
Now that he's not there.
Maybe in that NL championship game he makes the deciding error to win the game for the Nationals.
So he doesn't really know where Philadelphia is.
It's somewhat south of.
He doesn't. I don't think he knows where it is.
Isn't it actually north of DC, not south of DC?
South of here, John.
Yeah, all right. Okay, just checking.
Anything south of here.
So yeah, but so what? The big deal is 13 years with no opt-out clause, right?
And-
so
yeah.
he's stuck there. I mean, stuck for $339 million.
Yep.
It's a relative term,
You know,
but
stuck.
he will never get a better contract.
Right.
$20 million signing bonus starts now. This year's salary is $10 million with the $20 million signing bonus. So it's $30 million this year.
So when Mookie gets $32 million per year, he's not going to want to renegotiate.
I don't know. I don't think many people are going to want to not lose the opt-out ability.
Right.
Especially,
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to see
They
that
said
again.
he didn't want it. That's why it's not in the contract. But
Yeah.
you would think it before you'd signed a 13-year contract, you might want to have the opportunity at 5 years or 6 years to maybe go somewhere else if you
Right.
didn't like it. And
A-Rod Texas thought they had A-Rod for life when they
Yeah.
made that crazy.
That's true.
yep.
And that contract doesn't look so bad now.
I think the Yankees are done paying him now, though. That's good.
But 2 years after that contract expires, Bryce Harper, is when Bobby Bonilla's contract finally expires.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to
See
wonder.
that?
That's amazing. What a great guy that guy is. Bobby.
Yeah. Imagine Bobby Bonilla gets a check every July for like $1.9 million from the Mets.
That's rough.
It's all
That's
because of the
beautiful.
Madoff scam.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Good stuff. All right. So what about Celtics? Because
Well,
there's some turmoil, I think.
yeah,
happening
Rob and I talked about it
last week.
last week. There seems to be old guard, new guard, decisiveness. I saw Anton Walker called out Kyrie.
For not
You know,
being a Celtic, true Celtic.
Yeah, not being as good a gambler as he was.
He wanted to borrow some money.
Yeah.
Antoine's not very good at that. I don't
No.
think.
But Antoine said he's a phenomenal player. He's a superstar. But based on some of his comments and his actions, he doesn't feel like he's a true leader of the team.
I mean, how do you can't argue with that. I mean, it makes sense. I don't really like the way he thinks. I mean, this is a smart kid, right? He went to Duke, and he's got a brain.
Can I
Means
just
nothing.
news flash? You don't get into Duke for basketball because you're a Rhodes Scholar. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah. Well, you still have to make.
I mean, I know that there's somebody behind the scenes that's doing all your tests for you. And
No, I don't know about that.
come on.
I don't think so. Nope. But the bottom line is, he still had to get into Duke somehow. He's not an idiot, but he sounds like an idiot. I would put him in the Trump category as far as when he talks publicly.
Yeah, there might not be a filter between the thoughts
Yeah.
and when it comes out of his mouth.
Yeah. So he's hurting himself. He's just hurting himself, which is, because unless behind closed doors, somehow they're all getting along together. I just don't see it happening. And instead, seeing them play the way they've been playing.
Well, and I think Brad Stevens he struggled a little bit to keep the team recently. He made some not so very favorable comments about Jaylen Brown's performance last night, where, kind of dissed on his shot selection and talked about how he hustled, but wasn't particularly complimentary of the guy. So
Trying to light a fire under him. Jaylen Brown is a mystery. All the talent in the world, when he wants to go to the hoop or anything, he can blow by anybody. He can. It's just like it's all like want to with this kid. And I read something this week about they were talking about Larry Bird walking away from the Pacers after only 3 years and having success. And it was because he said a team can only listen to the same voice for about 3 years. What do you think of that? Do you think that's real?
I mean,
in Jim's case, it's probably like less than a season. But in most coaches' cases, it's probably 3 years is a life cycle. Have you actually ever coached a team more than 1 year?
He has a lot of opt-outs.
of course I have.
Lowell, you were there forever.
No. I was assistant coach at Lowell for 1.5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
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 Tufts for 2.5 years. No, 3 years. But baseball, Daniel Webster for 4 years, New England College for a few years.
And that went so well that the college closed.
And college closed, yeah. Yeah, long after I left, let me put it that way.
It might have something to do with that.
They were certainly
brawl.
on the way, though, I'll say that much. What's kind of cool is we've talked about UMass Lowell a couple times, UMass Lowell softball. The best pitcher that has ever pitched at UMass Lowell, even to this day, I just noticed that she's watching the show at the moment. Kristen Mahoney, now Kristen Farrell, who, by the way, just returned from Disney, according to Facebook. So
Excellent.
Could she
So anyway.
strike you out?
she is. She could strike. I guarantee she could strike me out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, she
Got
was the
somebody
best pitcher
watching
than
here.
any
I
10
know we
ever.
all have our watch parties. So if you have comments, anybody have any comments that somebody has written on their watch party? I got Jamie Atkinson, who wrote in last week.
Hi, Christy.
He was talking about the best thing that ever happened to the Red Sox was when A-Rod did not come here.
It was the best thing that ever happened to the Red Sox when
Best thing
A-Rod
that
did
ever
not come.
It set them things in motion. I'll give him that. It set some things in motion. If you get A-Rod, you don't go after. Who did they go after? Schilling. Maybe they don't go after Schilling. They don't. Who knows what happens back then? But I think it set some things in motion.
three World Series later, I think we're okay,
Yeah, we're doing okay.
right?
I
Back to
don't,
back
I don't
this
want to
year,
correct
by the
you,
way.
but it's
4. Yeah.
4 World Series, Jim.
Well, are you sure about that? All right.
Yeah. A-Rod was before the 2004
Yeah,
World
4.
Series.
All right.
Okay.
You can correct me anytime, John.
That must hurt
Just make sure you're
Yankee
right.
fans.
In
That,
this case, you're probably right.
2004,
7,
2007,
14,
18.
13, 18.
13, 18. Okay, my bad.
That's the Red Sox we're talking about. Yeah.
So talking about 3-year coaches though. So Belichick, Auerbach, Casey Jones.
Well, Casey Jones didn't coach that team. Let's be honest.
Come on.
But the thing is with that is that a lot of guys on this team haven't been here for 3 years. Kyrie hasn't been here for 3 years.
Well, that's
Tatum
the
hasn't been
nature
here
of
for 3 years.
professional sports now. Players don't last 3 years.
Well, and don't you think that today's society that it's the I want it now mentality of these young athletes that come out.
Mhm.
They aren't willing to work as hard as they need to or put the time and effort in to build a team over 3 or 4 years. I mean, look what LeBron's tried to do in LA, where instead of using the draft and developing players, his idea is let's just sign 2 or 3 guys to max contracts and we'll try to win it that way. I think that's what's terrible about basketball is that the players seem to dictate the rosters more than the general managers, and the general managers are then left with having to put a bunch of D-League players on the bench because they can't afford anybody else because they've got 3 or 4 guys that are making max contracts.
Yeah, wrapped up. All their millions are wrapped up in the first 3 or 4 players.
when you look at the Celtics, you have Al Horford at like 28, you have Gordon Hayward at 31 million, and you have Kyrie's making like 21 million. So, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think prediction-wise, I think they are going to put it all together. I do. I think they're going to put it all together, and they will be there at the end of the season in the hunt for the championship.
Rob, are you recording that last comment so we'll have a drop for later in the season?
We're recording everything. Yeah.
All right. So when we don't make the playoffs or we lose to Atlanta in 4 games, we can go back to that drop and you can insert that in.
Well, I was looking at my watch party here. Did you say what did you say about that we were going to go to the finals or we were going to go to the?
They're going to make a run for the championship.
Okay, yeah,
my
I'll
quote.
go with that. Like I said last week to John, I didn't think that even though they were on this losing streak, they're having to get their heads out of their butts. I didn't think there was a team out there that scared me that I thought would beat them in a 7-game series, and I thought that this game against Toronto was a big game, and I wasn't that impressed with the contributions of Gasol, so I'm going to stick to that. I think the Celtics can still beat anybody in a 7-game series. So I kind of agree with Jim. I don't know if they'll be standing there at the end of the conference finals, but I think they'll make a run at it like last year.
They will be competitive.
Well, the nice thing about recording the show is either way, it's going to be good for us, right? I mean, if they make it to the finals, you can run that like Jim's some kind of a, savant. Very talented. He's the Glenn Ordway of Litchfield. And then if he's wrong, you can just demonstrate that Jim's being Jim.
I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books.
Yes.
He does. I've been to his house.
I do. Leather-bound books.
Another question on Facebook. If you could keep Ainge or Stevens, who would it be?
You'd have to pick between the. I think they work really well together. That would be hard to give up. I think if Ainge is gone, then Stevens is gone. But I don't. I think Danny does a phenomenal job with determining and working within the organization to bring in the type of players that need to work together. I think he's probably one of the best at it. I don't even think that's a question to have him.
I think he sees the value in players certainly better than Wick Grossbeck's son does.
Is that okay?
I would say if one had to go, gun to head, it would have to be Stevens because anybody can coach.
Rob,
John.
are you familiar with Wick's son?
No.
Oh, he goes to
He
the
was-
Perkins School. So
The blind? The deaf? I don't know who the Perkins School is.
It's the blind.
It's the blind. It is the blind. Okay.
Yeah.
And another question about the Bruins, which I will not ask because they're dead to me.
Well, that's not right. We can't afford to lose viewers.
yeah, the Bruins look pretty good right now.
The Bruins are on a tear.
Yeah.
Bruins have a better chance to win the title than the Celtics this year. False. Because Tuukka Rask isn't going to win you jack squat.
And I would
I don't
say
care
anybody,
where you go.
and most people would agree with you. But when Tuukka's hot, there's nobody better.
And anybody, if you hit a hot goalie, you can ride it. But I'm not saying this guy
And they've
can
done it.
be turned into the hot goalie.
Yeah, look at Tim Thomas
Yeah.
in that run,
Yep.
right?
It was quite a run.
So Bruins. So there is a real chance this year that we have 4 championships in Boston. I mean, what do we think about that?
That'd be wouldn't New Yorkers just like start jumping off the bridges?
Yeah.
Which is fine with me.
I don't think that's realistic.
In what way? So you think the Celtics
It's more
are,
realistic than it's
don't
been
have
in
a
the
chance?
past. Both teams are going to make a pretty deep run in the playoffs.
Maybe.
So that's as close as you can ask for.
When a puck and a ball bounce any certain way, you never know.
True.
Yep.
I mean, the
All right,
Celtics were in the 85 finals and lost, and the Patriots were in the 85 Super Bowl and lost. Other than that, we haven't been this close.
Red Sox were in the '86 World
Yeah, see?
Series that year.
We thought that was pretty cool back then.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
a question I wanted to ask you guys. Since we've all been around when it was the thin times around here, no wins, we couldn't watch Patriots games unless they were away. The Red Sox were ridiculous. The Celtics were going through the Dominique Wilkins, Xavier McDaniel years. Has all of this, the championships of the last 15, 20 years, has all this changed the way you watch, root for these teams, or it's pretty much the same?
I've given that some thought over the years because, back in the 80s, 70s, watching the Red Sox and Carlton Fisk and Rick Burleson and Carl Yastrzemski, Jim Rice, Fred Lynn, and just going through that, that 78 team and rooting for them year after year, knowing that, or at least thinking and hoping that they took the end of their season just as hard as we did as fans and wanted to come back the next year and make things better. I am still a diehard Red Sox fan. I always will be. Do I believe that it's kind of interesting, and this team that we're watching that just won the World Series and coming back for spring training with the majority of them intact is similar to that. They do seem like they are a together unit that really cares about each other and doing great things together. I don't think that you get that throughout professional sports anymore. And
I think that's Alex Cora, 100%.
I think Alex Cora is absolutely, you're right about that. So I'd say that the question is, to answer the question, no, I don't think you can get that in most professional sports teams these days. But right now, we're in a great time to be Red Sox fans.
Well, are you done with your filibuster answer?
Absolutely.
All right, good. So I would say I got a little disillusioned with the Red Sox from probably the late '80s until we signed Manny Ramirez, and then I got a little energized with the team around that period of time and began to watch more regularly than I had. And I'd say over the last, since the Brady era, maybe before the Brady era, maybe say when Bledsoe took over, I've been a pretty consistent Patriots fan. I have not been a Celtics fan since, the late '80s, and I'm a occasional fan of the Bruins, but Red Sox have definitely been the team that I followed more than any of the other teams. I mean, like you, when I was a kid, I was 12 the year that Fred Lynn won the Rookie of the Year, the MVP, and had that game in Detroit where he had the 10 RBIs. So, you know, I've been watching for a long time.
That puts you into your mid-50s.
Yeah. Londonderry High School math's really coming out today. Yep, good for you, Jim.
Excellent.
Hey, Rob, just so you know, he didn't have to take his shoes off for that one.
Very good.
55.
Yeah, I think baseball has always been the sport for me growing up. Always the Red Sox. We could watch more games because of the different kind of television contracts that they had. We were able to watch more Red Sox games than Patriots games.
I would have thought a Portuguese kid from, you know, that affluent
Funny,
suburb of Fall River would be a stickball player, not
Soccer.
Soccer.
Yeah, my father would not let me play soccer.
Yeah.
Only Portuguese play soccer, he said.
I see.
Yeah.
Because you'd
So,
be a
but
good.
it's a lot of running.
I mean, you'd be a good goalie if you were that size when you were a kid. You
True.
know?
If the goal was only about, because I'm not moving around too much, but I do take up a lot of space. Would have been a good hockey goalie. That would have been phenomenal.
The Geico Walrus is a good hockey goalie. Maybe we could trade for him before the deadline and bring him in.
Anything. I think the deadline is passed,
Oh, has it?
and
Okay.
that's that sport. So yeah, I was Fred Lynn was my guy growing up. I was a huge Fred Lynn fan. When I was in Little League, I ran to the box of uniforms and grabbed number 19 before anybody could grab it. And they were, people they were
What-
grabbing Yaz
when we
numbers
were in
and
Little
Jim
League,
Rice.
weren't the higher number the largest sizes?
Usually.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
Actually-
19 was like a Omar the tent maker size,
I
or
was not very big back then.
all right,
Yeah.
just checking because when Jim and I played, the kids that wore like 2, 3, 4 were the little kids.
Yeah.
And the kid wearing 12 or 13 was that beast on the
big
team.
big
So
husky kid.
Yeah.
19 is quite a graduation up from there.
It,
what is-
might have been when it was an original. We were the Orioles. I grabbed number 19, and it was the Orioles. They had a few jerseys that didn't come back, so they had to make new ones, and it was total different font, different orange. The letters were even a different shade of black. So, but it was 19, so I was taking it.
Well, Fred did play for the Orioles for a
I
period
did
of time.
at one point.
Towards the end.
Yeah. So there you go.
So I think rooting for the teams back then was a lot more difficult, but I think we would, like Jim said, live and die for these games. The Patriots, we thought that Bledsoe against the Packers was going to be the only time we're ever going to see these guys. And then when all these championships started, we kind of turned into the thing that we despise the most, and that is Yankee fans, where championships are a birthright instead of something that you have to suffer through to get first. You talk to a Yankee fan our age, all they talk about is 27 championships, dude, 27. Even though they have the
It's not a Paul
Kids-
McCartney invitation.
No,
Kids-
I don't think so.
kids that are 12, 13, 14 years old are like, Yankees, so what? They what? One championship? The best teams in the sports are, number one, the Patriots, the league franchise in sports, especially football, and in baseball since the millennium, it's the Red Sox. So that
Well-
has to be driving people crazy.
Y2K.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, we were self-proclaimed really good baseball players. Myself and 4 or 5 of my buddies that were really good. We all signed a pact, and we all lived up to it by saying that we would never sign a pro contract with the Yankees.
That's excellent.
That's very good.
When I was a kid,
Only
like
one
that,
of you actually got to sign any kind of contract, if I'm right?
Depends. Is that me?
Did you?
Well,
No, I thought one of the Beals brothers got to go to a spring training. No. All right.
When I had
more
my-
lies.
I have one professional at bat.
Oh yeah, with the Pride.
I do.
Excellent.
Yeah. When I
I'm
was
in the baseball almanac.
yeah, good for you.
Thank you.
When I was a little kid, I had a paper route. I used to, first thing in the morning before I delivered my papers, I'd read the box score of the Red Sox, and kind of figure out who went 2 for 3 and
Yeah.
who was doing what. And we used to cut those out and play wiffle ball, and you'd put it on the fence, and you whatever team you were for the wiffle ball, whatever way that batter batted, you had a
Good
bat.
to do that. I love that.
Yeah.
Loved that growing up. That was
Yeah,
you
that-
would not see that. These
So,
days.
Lefty
You
or
know,
righty, didn't
Let-
matter.
Yeah.
We did that.
Yep, that was great.
Yep.
I used to do that by myself, playing just throw the ball up and Yaz would hit the ball,
Yep.
and Jim Rice would hit the ball.
Dwight Evans would change it every year. You'd have to change it.
Yeah.
Or Phil, do you ever do a Phil Plantier?
Yeah, Phil.
Do you remember Phil
Yeah,
Plantier?
Trout.
That was nuts.
So I don't know if you guys saw the news on the Patriots had another coach resign, but the Patriots character coach resigned this week, and
Caricature?
character coach.
He's the guy that drew the pictures of the.
No. He's
No?
the guy that had a little problem with the whole Robert Kraft situation, and I guess he felt it was out of character of the team, so he stepped aside.
Because he couldn't, because it was his job to maintain everybody's character? Or?
Correct. He didn't
Well-
do a good job out with Aaron Hernandez either. I don't know.
No,
No, I
but
guess not.
I think it's become increasingly clear that Robert Kraft is going to be found not guilty.
That's what it seems like. I don't know how. Of course, we haven't seen the videos.
No.
Well, even if he becomes found not guilty, I think the bigger blemish is the fact that he's even up and involved in it. And it is. Listen,
Yeah, that's bad nonetheless.
Right, he'll
but-
be linked
Yeah.
to it forever, regardless if he's found
nobody-
innocent or
nobody's
whatever.
heard a word about Jesse Smollett or R. Kelly in the last week now.
Jesse.
I mean,
That's
you
one of
know?
my favorite shows too, and I'm going to be sad when it comes back on.
yeah.
That was a.
They're gonna kill him off, probably.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe
He's-
two guys will beat him up.
He is the star of the show, though.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Well, one of 2 or 3, I guess, but.
I haven't watched
He's the
that.
guy. So the other Portuguese from Litchfield kid just joined watching.
Who's that?
So the other one,
There's only 2.
Yeah,
You'd be
you.
surprised how many there are.
you and the shorter one.
Tony?
Yeah,
I didn't know. I've only met him when he was sitting in his truck.
Tony should call. Tony should call in and talk about something sports related.
Yeah, or some Marasadas, or some Super Scaldine,
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got to buy it for the Pink House because
So
the listing agent can't seem to sell it. So
well, the
maybe
good news
some-
is there's some good news and some bad news there. The good news is I am no longer the listing agent.
Oh, that's good. You got fired?
They
That's
got
also
fired,
the bad
too.
news.
Yeah. You got fired?
Nothing's
You're fired.
The seller and I came to a mutual agreement that
That she would fire you.
that in that particular the house is going to be sold by Team Healy. By the way, Team Healy from the Berkshire Hathaway Verani office in Londonderry, excellent realtors, are now marketing the property.
Okay.
Yep. So it should be interesting to see how it goes in town.
So that's going to hurt your record of selling the 2 most expensive homes in town?
There goes
Yeah.
Realtor of the Year,
Unless
back to
I
back.
find a buyer for it between now and when somebody else does buy
Right.
it. Yeah.
That's not your regular house that people are going to look for. I can imagine how hard that must be to sell something like that.
It's a beautiful house. It's a unique house, and it is a difficult one to.
Yeah, it is. If you're going to spend
sell,
that much
but-
money, you
but
don't
it's-
want to be on a corner.
Well, you don't want to be on a corner in the middle of town, but there is somebody out there who does,
People
including
who like to walk the
including
corners,
people
maybe.
who like to be noticed. and-
Sell drugs on the corners.
Yeah.
People like to be noticed. Well, it is. The house is an authentic Victorian color. It's not pink because they were screwing around.
Correct.
If I'm correct, it's an authentic Victorian color.
It was designed that way to be Victorian era. Yes, absolutely.
I think that was very close to the original color of the Lizzie Borden house, if you've ever been to Fall River. Now it's not the same color.
Oh, it's not?
No, not anymore.
Do they still have the axe there? Or?
I'm not sure. I've never been in the house.
Oh, okay.
It's a bed and breakfast now where you
Yeah.
can sleep there and
Oh, that'd be fun.
talk to ghosts if you want.
Right.
40 wax.
So,
She gave her mother 40 whacks, they say.
yeah. That's what they say.
Father more, 40 more.
Yeah.
That's a good old. Is that an old wives' tale or is that true?
They definitely got murdered.
Yeah.
Then they never arrested anybody.
Hmm.
So it happened.
Was she a witch?
Ooh, you never know.
Was she Portuguese?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Apparently
We
Tony's not
we weren't quite taking over Fall River yet.
Oh, I see.
It was, I think they.
So
mostly
she
in the
couldn't
20s.
make. She wouldn't be like somebody that could bake the good sweetbreads.
Nah,
Oh, all right.
nah. They had servants. They didn't do anything. They didn't make anything.
Well, in the theme tonight is commenting on people that have joined.
Okay.
Former Southern New Hampshire, then New Hampshire College baseball player Tim Richard, also a townie, is watching, and
Good.
if he's interested in or has anything to say about the local sports scene, the local national sports scene, I'd love to hear from you, Tim. If
So
you
you
are
don't
watching,
want to
give us
talk
a call.
about, local sports, the bass fishing.
I don't know anything about local sports anymore. Well, we can talk about we can talk about this in relation to Tim Richard and Litchfield. The Litchfield Baseball Association, I believe, will be putting on a baseball clinic. Myself and Chris Shanahan are realtors, and we're going to sponsor a clinic for the Litchfield Baseball Association this coming spring. And it should be a fun event. We're waiting to hear from Tim and Steve Weber on when that's going to be. We'll look forward to it. I might get you a T-shirt.
They don't have my size.
I run into that problem sometimes.
Yeah, you can relate.
Time to
Valley
time.
T-shirt.
Tie dye.
No,
Oh,
she won't wear it.
So go ahead and read your list and your watch party. Last week it was a big hit.
What do you mean my list?
Don't you have a watch party of people that joined?
yeah. We have a question from a old high school
Go ahead.
classmate of mine, and a neighbor lived over on a Hillside Avenue in Melrose. And his question is, John McGurn's question for us is, would the Celtics be better off without Kyrie Irving? And I know Danny Ainge has said this a couple of times when he's been asked that he thinks it's a foolish question. I think the better way to ask the question is, would the Celtics be better off with another player of Kyrie's caliber that didn't have Kyrie's personality? Because obviously the Celtics aren't better without Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to take Kyrie out of the picture and bring in Anthony Davis, are the Celtics a better team?
They would appear to be. I hear this a lot. I've been hearing this a lot on all the various talk shows, and even talking to people, that the Celtics are clearly not a better team without Kyrie Irving. Well, that's hard to prove. I agree with it. I understand it. He is one of the best, most talented players in the NBA, but they play better when he's not there. What are they, 11-2 this year without Kyrie? And they made that run last year. And it's hard for me to even say that because I love watching him play. I don't know if I've seen a more talented player, to be honest.
But there are players. Let's face it. There are players like Kyrie in history who Phil Esposito comes to mind. Who the Bruins had a good record in games when Phil Esposito didn't play, but the guy, could score 75 goals in a season when that was unheard of. So was it because the amount of focus that was put on Esposito when he was, on the ice, and the fact that he was always near the net to score? And then in Kyrie's case, is it because of the number of minutes he logs and how much he has the ball? And when he's not there, there's maybe a different distribution of the basketball.
Right. Well, the opponents.
Right.
So I think that brings us back to the question, because if there's a different distribution of the basketball and the defensive alignments and the defensive switches and the matchups are different and they're better, doesn't that make them a better team? Isn't at the end of the day, isn't basketball the ultimate team sport?
It is, but there's two type of teams. There's the regular season way you play basketball, and then there's the playoff way you play basketball. Now, they did prove last year that they played playoff basketball fantastically without Kyrie Irving. But the conference is better this time. Mm-hmm. They went through a bunch of clowns to get to LeBron and Cleveland. It's not going to be like that this year. They're 5th or 4th right now, and the 4 or 5 teams ahead of them are legit. Now, I still think they can beat them, but these are much better than they were last year. So to say that, I don't think they could win without Kyrie going forward this year. And like you said, if at the end of the year, maybe was the team better off going forward without Kyrie? I like John's point. Well, then, if not Kyrie, who is it going to be? Anthony Davis, and now you got your big guy. And what is Scary Terry going to take over the point? No. Are you going to go out and sign Mike Connolly?
Why not? Scary
Trade
Terry?
for Kemba Walker? I mean, what are you going to do at the point if it's not going to be Kyrie? It's not Marcus Smart. It's not Terry Rozier.
Why? You say that? You said that twice now. Why isn't it? 'Cause
Terry Rozier? You want Terry Rozier running this team?
I love the guy when he plays. There's nobody with more energy than him, or Marcus Smart, to be honest. Now Marcus makes some interesting decisions.
Terry Rozier has not had a good year.
No, but he without him, we don't make the run that we made last year.
Exactly.
And
He's a different player last year.
He came into this year not knowing what his role was going to be and having it play out
I think
exactly
he knew what
that
it was
way.
going to be, yes, but he just didn't really.
I think
he
if
didn't take to it as well.
I think if he were to be given the role, I think you would see the best Terry Rozier that we saw at the end of last year when he owned the role. Now, again,
You think he can be a
I'm not
point
saying
guard on a championship roster?
I think he was last year.
There wasn't a championship roster.
Well, it was close enough to that. It was close enough that the way they're
They
playing
would have
right
gotten
now,
absolutely
we'll see.
smoked if they would have made it to the finals. They would have
well,
gotten absolutely destroyed.
And didn't Cleveland also?
They won one game.
Hey, I just want to remind you that I have an important dinner party I have to be to, and I have to be
Yes.
able to close out the show in 7 minutes.
That'll be easy because we really don't know what they're doing
Well,
anyway.
I noticed a famous Canadian skier, Sean McKenna, just got on the program,
Nice.
and he's up in Montreal. I think he's skiing at that mountain that Liam Neeson's wife was killed at.
Oh,
What was her name there? Remember her?
Mrs. Nielsen. I'm
no,
not sure.
She was a famous actress.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and she fell and cracked her head open, and they couldn't save her up there in Montreal.
She skis like a Kennedy.
Yeah, or Sonny Bono.
True.
Yeah. Hopefully,
But
Sean
John Denver. Did John Denver die that way too? Or is he not dead?
No, what wasn't his a plane crash?
This was a plane crash.
Yeah,
that's right,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, you got to
Rocky
know how
Mountain,
your
not high
celebrities.
enough.
You got to know how your celebrities are killed. I mean, that's just basic radio 101 stuff.
Isn't
Well,
there a game
nowadays you
called,
could
like,
just say overdose.
dead or
You just
Canadian-
name somebody.
Canadian?
Overdose.
Who?
Dead or Canadian?
Dead or Canadian.
They throw that name out and it's supposed to say are they dead or are they Canadian?
Ah, I see. Yeah, probably Canadian. Eh?
All right. So Jim is going to be away the next couple of weeks.
Oh, he is.
He is going to be.
Do we have a stand-in guest host that we're going to bring in, Rob, to
Actually,
improve the culture and the
as we
flow
get
of the
close,
show? And
as we get closer to the opening day, I've reached out to a website called Guy Sports Boston. A bunch of young 20-something guys. They write on their website. They all have podcasts. A couple of them. One goes to SNHU. I contacted him, see if he wanted to call in at some point. Read some of his stuff. Good. They're pretty good. I like to see these this new generation of writers and wannabe sports talk. The old guard is kind of dying out, unfortunately.
I think Fred Smirlis would be a good stand-in for you.
I might be able to get Pete Shepard to call in, but I'm not sure.
Pete the Meat?
Yeah, I don't know what he does on his weekends. So next couple
so
of
what
weeks,
are you going to do in Florida anyway?
he's going to fish and he's going to go to Red Sox games and report to us. I'm going to get him a camera.
I don't fish. I hate fishing. And my daughter is playing her season opening spring training games down in Winter Haven.
Right.
And I'm going to be watching most of those for about 7 days. And then I will, in fact, head over to Fort Myers, hang out with Monkey Boy, and go to a game.
Right. And what about, will you be able to battle through the traffic in Englewood to see your mother?
I'm going to try and see my mom.
Mrs. Cardello, Flynn, whatever her name is.
What?
Englewood
yeah.
up to no
How
good.
many hyphens, if she put all the names together, would she need?
It would be like it would look like what on a map what train tracks look like.
Yeah. Or like a law firm? like like a 5-partner law firm?
Dewey Hook 'em and
Cardello,
how?
Flynn, Shaughnessy, O'Shaughnessy.
Do we cheat him and how?
Dewey Cheatham and how?
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
So there's Jim will be back in a couple of weeks with some footage. We're gonna give him a camera, see what he
Nice.
comes up with.
I like cameras.
John found a new job. When's Saturday still good for you?
Yeah. Unlike Jim, we kind of made an agreement when we brought the show back. We were all going to be here every week to do it. And
Thursdays.
if I'm not mistaken, Jim was the guy that said, "Let's
He
not
was
do it
pretty
if we
adamant
can't be
about it.
here."
Can't be here.
He
Yeah,
was pretty
yeah,
adamant about
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
So it looks like Saturday is the day.
Yep.
So we'll be here next Saturday. At least me and John will, and maybe we can find someone else to come.
Well, we could get that can of paint that's over there, put it here, and be like a regular show.
we could put Monkey Boy there. The
Yeah, Monkey
bobblehead.
Boy.
The bobblehead would be good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we could get a Jim Cardello bobblehead, with a
I have
bald,
one.
like if
Awesome.
if you had like a Mr. Clean, we could just put a Mr. Clean there.
My sister got me a bobblehead for Christmas one year of
Yeah.
me.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like me, but the thought was there.
Yeah, there you go.
She also got me one year the Peanut Butter of the Month Club.
Really? How was that?
Awful.
And how was this year's gift?
This year we got invited to the Super Bowl
Yeah.
thing.
Wow, much better. Much
See,
better.
I didn't forget.
No, thanks, John.
All right.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks to Russ. Thanks to John and Jim and
We're out.
everybody else that helped us out. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Sports show. What are we talking about?
live now. Fantastic Sports Show is live now.
So he's as good looking as I am. He also has a face for radio. Yeah, well, back in the 70s and 80s, all the hairspray from the girls from Revere would all put their hair up and they would spray that hairspray. And that's why the ozone layer in Revere is thinner than anywhere else in the world. I didn't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Medford is second, but Revere was first. Yeah.
He's a Christian. I don't know if he's Catholic, but he's a Christian. And I do know that all 8 children are with his wife.